Greetings of the day, everyone. Today's topic is how to develop critical thinking skills. Now, critical thinking means learning to ask questions, think carefully, and make good decisions. For primary children, it is about helping them not just to remember answers but to understand why things are happening around them, compare ideas, and solve problems in their own way. In classrooms, teachers can build critical thinking through stories, games, puzzles, discussions, and real life examples. This skill encourages curiosity, creativity, and confidence, helping children to become more independent learners and responsible decision makers in everyday life. So let's begin the session. Let me share the screen. Let me introduce myself. I'm Vishakha. I'm an author, AIF master trainer, childcare education expert, certified phonics educator, yoga trainer, nutritionist, and magical storyteller. So topic is how to develop critical thinking skill. Now the learning outcomes will be by the end of the session, learners will be able to define critical thinking. They will be able to identify key skills of a critical thinker, apply critical thinking to real life situations, distinguish between assumptions, facts, and opinions. And apart from that, they will be able to understand how to demonstrate reflective thinking as well as evaluate arguments and evidence. Now let's consider on the screen 4 C's in 21st century education. Now 4 C's of learning: collaboration, which means working together respectfully and productively with others to achieve common goals. Next one, creativity. Creativity means using imagination and innovation to generate new ideas, solutions, and approaches. Third, communication. Expressing ideas clearly and effectively through speaking, writing, listening, and digital media. Last one, last 4 C is critical thinking. The ability to analyze, evaluate, and solve problems logically and creatively. So today's topic is critical thinking. Let's understand more. Now, what is critical thinking? As I told you before, critical thinking is the ability to analyze information by using reliable evidence and arriving at the logical and balanced conclusion. Why? Because it involves researching and gathering facts. It involves evaluating evidence critically, applying your own knowledge and reasoning, finding solution or making informed decisions. Critical thinking encourages students to go beyond service level, understanding and engage in deeper thinking to gain meaningful insight into a topic. Now, in short, I can say critical thinking is like being a detective of ideas. You look closely and ask why, and then decide what makes sense. For example, if you take analyzing the information. Now, the situation is the teacher reads a storybook, The Thirsty Crow. Now, here the critical thinking will be instead of just remembering the story, child will ask, "Ma'am, why did the crow put stones in the pot? What would happen if the pot was already full of water?" Now, here again, the next situation, forming judgment, where in situation says, during the group work, two friends give different answers in maths. Now, critical thinking will be the child will check both the answers step by step and decide which one is correct. Let's take another example of solving problem. Now, let's take another situation. In an art class, the glue bottle is missing. Your Fevicol bottle is missing. Now, children will think or child will think and say, "Ma'am, can we use tape instead of glue? Or can we use double-sided tape instead of glue?" Why it matters for the kids? Because critical thinking helps children not to only answer questions but also to ask better questions, to make good choices and find smart solutions. Critical thinking involves observation, analyzation, interpretation, evaluation, and inference. So let's take one by one with examples. Now let's count observation and questioning. Observation and questioning means looking carefully and asking why and how. For example, a child sees that plant near the window grows faster rather than in the corner. So they may ask, why is this plant taller? Does it get more sunlight? Next one, analysis and interpretation. Now, analysis and interpretation means breaking information into parts and trying to understand it. For example, in a maths problem, 12 apples are divided among 4 friends. So child would immediately think and says 12 divided by 4 means each friend will get 3 apples. Next one, evaluation. Now here evaluation means deciding if something is correct, if something is fair or useful. Example, two friends arguing about answers to a riddle. The child will check the logic and says, I think Rahul's answer is correct because it matches the story clue. Last one, synthesis or inference. Synthesis inference means putting ideas together to make a conclusion or a new idea. For example, after reading a storybook or a story, The Lion and the Mouse, child will say, even a small friend can be very helpful. So we should not judge someone by their size. In short, to conclude this screen, I would say critical thinking helps children to become more problem solvers, more decision makers, and thoughtful learners. Next one. Now, why is critical thinking important in education? Let's take one by one. It's give the deeper learning. It's give the problem solving situations. It has the information literacy work. So let's work out on next one. Why is critical thinking important in education? It encourages curiosity and inquiry. How? It helps children to become more curious and ask why and how questions. For example, instead of just telling students that plants grow in sunlight, rather, teacher encourages them to plant a seed in sunlight and shade, then ask them to observe and compare their growth. Next one, it builds independent thinking. How it matters? Students learn to think for themselves, not just copy the answers. For example, when solving a word problem in maths, students are encouraged to explain how they got the answer, not just what the answer is. Third, it improves decision making. How it improves decision making? It helps children to make smart and thoughtful choices in the class and life. Let's take an example. During a group project, students decide how to divide tasks fairly and respectfully using reasoning. Another important point, it enhances communication and reasoning. Now, how it matters? Students learn to express ideas clearly and back them with reasons. Let's take example. In a story discussion, teacher asks, why do you think that character acted that way? And the student supports their answers with examples from the story. It actually prepares for real world challenges. How it matters? Life needs problem solvers, not just fact memorizers. Let's take example here also. In a classroom cleanliness activity, children brainstorm how to keep the class tidy and create their own class team. They can create a clean team pan. How we can make the class clean every day. Next one. Now, what is information literacy? Now, information literacy is the ability to find, understanding, evaluate, and use information correctly and responsibly. For teachers, it means helping young learners to ask questions, to look for the answers from reliable sources, to understand what they read to hear, to understand to use the information wisely and safely. Let's take examples one by one for the information literacy skills. First skill is asking questions. Now, when we ask the question, child wonders why do butterfly have different colors? And they are encouraged to explore more. Number two skill, finding information. When a teacher guides students to use books or child safe websites to research animals. Number three, evaluating sources skill. Now, students learn to trust books from the school library rather than random internet links. I hope you all agree with me. Number four, using information responsibly. It is again a skill where children use facts they learn to make posters about healthy eating, not just copying them blindly. Why it is important? Because it encourages critical thinking, it builds research skills, teaches digital safety and responsibility, it prepares children to be smart users of information in today's world. Next one, let's talk about training for teachers. Now, there are many points for training for teachers. Let's take one by one with examples how you can train yourself to implement everything in the class. Number one, modeling critical thinking. Now, when we talk about modeling critical thinking means teacher demonstrate how to think aloud, question and reasoning through a problem. Let's take example. While reading a story, the teacher says, I wonder why that character did this. Let's think. Number two, using open-ended questions. Now, using open-ended questions means asking questions with more than one correct answers to encourage deep thinking. Let's take example. What would happen if there were no rules in the school? So again, it is an open-ended question. Every child has answer and they want their turn to speak. Number three, debate and discussions. Debate and discussion means encouraging respectful expressions of ideas, listening and reasoning. Let's take another example. Students discuss, should animals be kept in zoo? With points for and against. So teacher will divide the class team A and team B, and team A will speak in favor, team B will speak in against. So the question will be, should animals be kept in zoos? Next one, project learning base. Now in project learning base means student work on real life project requiring research, problem solving and creativity. Let's take example, creating a model of eco-friendly school or organizing a class market day. Number five, metacognition. Metacognition means thinking about thinking, which means teaching students to reflect how they learn and think. For example, after solving a puzzle, students share with each other what helped you, what strategy did you use to solve this puzzle. So they share their thoughts with each other. One is they asking what helped you to complete the puzzle, what strategy did you use to solve the puzzle, and so on. Here is a tabular form we have just discussed before a slide. Next, let's talk about student strategy for developing critical thinking skills. How? Let's take point wise. Number one, question everything. Don't just accept answers. Ask why and how. For example, when teacher says sun rises in the east, child might ask, why does it rise in the east, not the west? So teacher will explain the reason behind it just because the child has a critical thinking skill. Teacher will say sun appears to rise in the east and sets in the west because of the earth's rotation, and so on with the various reasons over it. Number two, consider multiple perspective, which means look at the problem from different sides. Example, in a story, instead of thinking about the hero, a child asks, Ma'am, how did the villain feel? Why did he behave with that actress? Why did he act that way? And so on. Next one, gather information. Gather information means to find proof before believing something. For example, if a friend says this toy is the strongest, but that child tests it by comparing with another toy, then only he will believe, yes, my friend is saying that this toy is strongest. Otherwise, he won't believe in his friend's sentence. Next, identify assumptions. Identify assumptions means notice hidden ideas we take for granted. How? One children is hearing only tall people can play basketball. So they all will think, is that true? Even the shorter players can be a very good players. So they will identify what are the assumptions and what is the fact. They notice hidden ideas we take for granted. Next one, analyze arguments. Analyze argument means listen carefully and check if the reasons make sense. For example, two friends arguing with each other, ice cream is healthier than fruit. Now the child will ask, does ice cream really have more vitamins than fruit? Number 6, practice healthy skepticism. Don't believe everything at once. Think before agreeing. Example, Example, a child sees an ad saying this pencil will make you write faster. They really wonder, and is that possible? Or it is just to sell the pencil only. So they don't believe everything at once. They think before agreeing on that point. Next is self-reflection. Self-reflection means think about your own thoughts, actions, and mistakes. Example, after a losing game, the child will reflect, next time I should share the ball more with my team. So he has understood his problem and his thought, think about their own thought and actions and mistakes. Then he or she is reflecting what they will do in future. In simple words, critical thinking, again, it's like being a detective of ideas. You ask questions, look at the things from different sides, check the proof, and learn from your own thinking. Let's talk about the additional sources, Socratic seminars. Now, Socratic seminar is a group discussion where students ask questions, listen carefully, and share ideas about a story, picture, or topic. Instead of a teacher giving all the answers, students learn by talking, listening, thinking together. It is named after Socrates, a wise teacher from an ancient Greece who taught by asking questions. How it works in a easy words for children, everyone reads or listens to a story or a passage. Children sit in a circle so they can see each other. You can see the picture on my slide. All of them are sitting on a round table so they can see each other's face. Instead of raising hands to answer, they take turns talking. They ask and answer questions like detective of ideas. For example, if we take a story, Thirsty Crow. Now the question is, why did the crow put stones in the pot? Could he try another way to drink water? The children might be share their ideas. Ma'am, he was smart enough. Ma'am, he could have asked another crow for help. Ma'am, he didn't give up. And so on. Let's take another example. Picture description. Now, show a picture to kids playing in the rain. Teacher is showing a picture of kids playing in the rain. Now, question is, how do you think the children feel? What would you do if you were there? Now, many of the children will talk about happiness, will talk about fun, and also the risk of catching cold. So, in short, I would say Socratic seminar is like a circle of friends thinking together, asking questions, sharing ideas, and learning from each other. Let's take next heading. What is Bloom's technology? Now, but Bloom's technology is like a ladder of learning steps. Each step shows how children can think and learn, from remembering facts to creating new ideas. You can see the picture on the screen. Let's take one by one. Begin with the bottom one. First one is remember. Now, remember means meaning or recall facts or information. For example, what are the names of days of the week? Next is understand, where you need to explain ideas in your own words. Example, after hearing the story of lion and mouse, child says the story teaches us that even small friend can help us. Next, let's talk about apply. Apply stage means use what you know in new situation. Learning addition in class, then using it to count total pencils at home. Next step, analyze. To break information into parts and see connections. So in the story Thirsty Crow, what problem did the crow have? What step did he take to solve it? This is how we can analyze, breaking down the information in component parts. Next step is evaluate, means judge or decide what is best. Let's take example of discussion. Was the crow smart or just lucky? Could there be a better way to get a water? So that we can easily evaluate the judging the value of information or ideas. Next step is create. Means to put ideas together to make something new. Example, write a new ending to the story. So instead of stones, the crow calls his friend to tip the pot. In short, for children, Bloom's technology is a way to climb for remembering to understand, then using, breaking apart, judging, and finally creating something new. Let's have a parting thought. Think out of the box, inquire, and solve problems. How? Let's take one by one. If we follow the strategy, think out of the box, which means encouraging creativity and new ways of thinking. Let's take example. If animals could talk, what would your pet says about its day? Let's inquire, asking questions, which means letting students explore by asking why, how, and what if. So, example will be, why do you get shadows? What happens when we move closer to the light? Next one is problem solving, helping students to find solution to challenges. Our class has too many papers on the floor. How can we keep it clean every day? In a music time, music class, think out of the box. Usually we clap in the class to make sound. So think out of the box, make a shaker, rice in a sealed container and shake the bottle or a glass. Make a guitar, rubber bands on a tin. So basic goal for a teacher is to encourage curiosity, build creative thinkers, teach kids to think before acting, foster a classroom where questions are welcome and ideas are respected. Thank you everyone for being such a lovely audience.